This is Respectively Outrageous with Nathan and Ben.
Today we're talking about the first overall pick, the NFL schedule that got released, and divisional predictions.
Hope you enjoy it. Alright, so our first topic for today is the number one overall pick.
Which is held by the Cleveland Browns, of course.
I feel like they have it every year.
I don't remember a year in my life they haven't had it.
That's true.
And the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, Hugh Jackson, has discussed whether or not taking Myles Garrett, talking about Mitch Trubisky. I personally do not like Mitch Trubisky. I think he's too raw. I think as a quarterback that couldn't win the starting job only until this year, shouldn't even be considered in the top 25 picks, would you say?
Oh yeah, the quarterback class this year isn't that strong. We've seen stronger classes in the past, and this one is definitely
It doesn't rank at all compared to the 2011 class.
No, and I don't even think Trubisky is in the top 5 quarterbacks. I mean, you could almost say that, but
Who are your top 5 quarterbacks in this draft?
I don't know, but I like my man Deshaun Watson. I think if out of any of the quarterbacks in this draft, he'd be the one for Cleveland. He just feels to heart, and I feel like he'd be great for Cleveland. But I don't think Cleveland should take Myles Garrett either.
I feel like Cleveland should take a safer pick, not a quarterback, and not a pass rusher where the fans expect immediate results. I think they should go get another Joe Thomas, not another tackle per se, but someone that's going to be a steady, positive influence on the franchise. Maybe the safety from Ohio State, Malik Hooker. I think Jabril Peppers is too much of a gamble, upside downside. So I like that Cleveland Browns taking at number 1. He's a little bit of a steal at number 1. Jonathan Allen from Alabama.
Interesting. One of the things I think about is Cleveland's made picks, and they've never really worked out.
No.
I mean, example, Trent Richardson, right?
Justin Gilbert.
Oh my gosh. Johnny Manziel. I mean, the list just goes on and on. But do you think they should trade it away?
I think what they did last year, where they traded the first round pick, their pick away, and they got a bunch of other picks, was worked out for other teams like Tennessee, where they traded it away and they got another pick. That's why they pick it number 5 this year with the infamous Jared Goff trade.
Yes.
So I think Cleveland needs to make a positive first step with their first pick. And then they also pick again at 12. So if your first pick doesn't work again, you still have a top 13 pick again at 12.
Right. That's something to think about is, do you sell the number 1 pick in order to get... Because this draft, you can mess up that number 1 pick so easily. I mean, anything can go wrong because I feel like you're almost overvaluing everybody at number 1. Myles Garrett, yeah, he's pretty good, but for a defensive end for Cleveland is not what they need. They need a skill player, and like you said, someone with upside, positive influence, someone that is going to stay there and really just help the team and might maybe not have immediate results, but they want someone that can deliver.
Seattle has said that to get Richard Sherman, you'd take a high first-round pick, and for number 1 overall is a high first-round pick. And Seattle has never really had a first-round pick since they've been relevant.
That's
because
true.
They've been in the playoffs, or they've been in the Super Bowl, or they've been in the Super Bowl, and then they were in the playoffs.
I mean, they have the 26th overall pick this year. I mean, they're not going to get... The depth this year isn't that great, and it would be beneficial for the Browns to trade that away for Richard Sherman, I think.
So if they trade that away for Richard Sherman, let's talk hypotheticals. They give away a first overall pick to Seattle. They get Richard Sherman. They still pick at 12, and they pick again at 26. Now, Seattle's talked about taking Sidney Jones, the corner from Washington, at 26, but now you have overall number 1. And I think that opens up a lot of possibilities for Pete Carroll. And I think with Seattle, the biggest question is, you already know the Legion of Boom is locked down, and Cam Chancellor and those boys.
But is it, though? Is it starting to...
It's showing its age.
itself?
It's
Yeah.
showing its age.
Okay.
I think they would take Cam Robinson, the tackle.
They definitely need one.
They signed some linemen in the free agency, but it's trying to stop a flooding river with some sticks and stones.
I mean, that division for, say, LA Rams, their defensive front is mean. I mean, Seattle's going to need something to put up with that line. And as we saw this past year in 2016, man, did that defensive line just burn Russell Wilson in that offensive line. It's just, I think it's a win-win situation for Cleveland and Seattle for Cleveland to trade that down and get Richard Sherman, because even if they don't get the 26th overall pick, the Cleveland still has the 12th pick, which is it's great because you get Richard Sherman, right? You get an elite cornerback, and you have Joe Hayden, right?
Yeah.
And you could
Joe Hayden's not the same man he used to be, though.
I completely agree, but he's played in the league. He knows how to play well. So, and he could help younger players that Cleveland could pick up later in the draft, because they also have the second round pick as well.
Right.
So you're not losing a lot with that, and I feel like it's not the glamorous move that the Cleveland fans want.
Right.
But in reality, anything that's going to help the Browns at this point isn't going to please the fans.
Once you start worrying about pleasing the fans, you realize you're sitting next to them in the stands.
Exactly.
So I like them trading down. I don't know if 26 is a little bit far down for me personally. But they do have the second round pick, second pick, and I think I like them taking Mahomes with the second pick. The air raid system gunslinger from Texas Tech. I've seen his pro day, his 80-yard flat-footed throw, and it streams Cardale Jones, great player for Ohio State, now backed up for the Buffalo Bills. But it also reminds me, I saw the throw and it reminds me a lot of DeMarcus Russell. I'm not saying Mahomes is going to become the Jabba the Hutt of the National Football League and weigh 400 pounds and chuck the football. But DeMarcus Russell had amazing arm talent, and everyone thought he was going to be the next great thing. And where is he right now? I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you if I had the CIA looking for him. I couldn't find him. So I think Cleveland has to be careful. And the thing is, Cleveland has gambled too much, and they've always been afraid of taking not the great pick or the flashy pick, but taking the consistent pick, which would be Cam Robinson. And in the second round, this first pick in the second round, I can guarantee you Wayne Gallman's going to be there.
For sure.
I can guarantee.
I mean, for Cleveland, they can pretty much get everyone they want at this point.
Right.
As long as they make the right moves. Because, I mean, they have the first and the 12th pick.
Right.
That's insane.
They could get Deshaun
That's
Watson
great.
and Mahomes if they wanted to. It doesn't make sense, but they could do it.
But, again, Myles Garrett has made it seem like he's the number one pick, regardless. But that's not what Cleveland needs, I feel like. I mean, Cleveland can't... I mean, the defensive end, yeah, Myles Garrett's great. Played great in Texas A&M, right?
Yep.
I mean, he's great. He's fast. He's quick.
Bigger version of Von Miller.
Exactly. But does Cleveland need a Von Miller? Or do they need someone else to... Because you got to think, what positions do they want to fill first?
Right.
Because if they have a solid linebacker core, then you get to go for the defense, because then you've got risk of heavy blitz.
Yep.
But if you get one defensive end, they're just going to double team him, and no one else is going to even... And it's just going to fall apart, and it's going to be a complete waste to pick.
Look what Denver did in 2011. Carolina had the first overall pick with Cam Newton. And Denver would pick, and then they took Von Miller.
Yes.
And what happened with Von Miller is he was a good player, a really good player, but no one really heard about him because even though Von Miller did all these crazy things, Denver had Danny Trevathan at the time, or later on, they slowly grew pieces, and they went with the Von Miller, and he was good and did all these positive things for the Broncos, but he never really had that immediate impact. Whereas if the Browns take someone like Robinson or Jamal Adams, these guys can make great plays and contribute in interceptions and tackles behind the line.
That's true.
And possibly on special teams. Whereas Von Miller would really help the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys would love to have Von Miller. But Myles Garrett in particular, I think if they give him to the Dallas Cowboys or the LA Chargers, I don't understand you, Alex Spanos, I never will. They're the teams that are one player away from a Super Bowl championship, he could push them over the edge. I don't think Myles Garrett will push the Cleveland Browns back to 7-9 stardom and a quarterback away. I think the Browns are more than that, and they need to be able to take someone mediocre.
And that someone is not Mitch Trubisky.
No, he's not. Absolutely not. If you want to take a quarterback that has absolutely zero experience, not saying that Davis Webb has no experience, but He got beat out by Mahomes at Texas Tech. Then he went to Cal, the same school that Jared Goff went to, and played just basically the same system. And I don't like Davis Webb as much, but I think he's better than Trubisky. So I can see Cleveland taking him. Mahomes came in for some workouts with the Browns. I can see him going in the second round. But if there's run on quarterbacks early, it becomes of not we don't even need him. It's kind of like keeping up with the Jones. Oh, you took a quarterback. I'm taking a quarterback. I don't even need a quarterback. I'm the Cardinals. We're just taking a quarterback. So
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that works out. But I will say Cleveland is in a tricky situation here, holding a lot of power and not knowing what to do. And it's a rough situation. So yeah, any last thoughts?
no, any last topics? No.
No. All right.
You notice that there's some divisional games, and then there's some other games that pop out at you, like Seattle at Green Bay.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting game.
Seattle and Green Bay always play each other tough, but I kind of want to personally I want to see the game a little bit later in the year, like it was last year. I didn't want to see a massive blowout in the snow, but nevertheless, it's always a good game. I want to see that one a little bit later.
Yeah.
You have your classic Sunday night game with New York and Dallas. Will not be called by Tony Romo. Thank goodness. Here's another one. This is my AFC championship game prediction. Oakland and Tennessee, week 1. I gotta make time to watch that one.
Yeah.
Derek Carr coming off an injury. Marcus Mariota coming off an injury.
Yeah.
Great running backs. Whoever the Raiders running backs gonna be. Maybe Marshawn.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. That'll definitely be an interesting game to see. Well, but I'm interested. I mean, looking at just overall schedules, who do you think is the hardest? Because, I mean, you could say, oh, well, this team is the highest opponent win percentage. But that does not matter at all. Because as we've seen, free agency shapes teams differently. And as we've seen in New England, I feel like they've almost gotten better over this free agency.
Which is hard to do because you just won the Super Bowl. It's
exactly.
hard to get better
That
just
is
winning the Super Bowl, go out and go sign Brandon Cooks. And it screams to me, Bill Belichick is watching the clock and he's watching it tick away really fast like you're in finals week.
Oh, for sure.
And he's screaming because he wants Tom Brady to go win as many Super Bowls as he can.
He knows the window is closing. And so what I find interesting is, I don't know, the schedules are different, I guess. Cleveland's in no primetime games, which is...
It should not be. But there's one game I like that should be a primetime game. Arizona at Indy. Why isn't that a primetime game week 2? I mean, you have Thursday night Houston at Cincinnati.
No.
The best thing about that game last year was the color rush jersey, the all white that they wore that would look great.
Oh, that was pretty good.
But here's the Monday night game. Detroit and New York. I mean, come on.
Well, but what's interesting is New York plays on the primetime Sunday night, week 1, and then plays on the Monday night. So they have a little bit longer week, not a ton.
Yep.
Which, that's interesting.
A game I'm really looking forward to watching is Buffalo at Carolina. Buffalo's new head coach, obviously, is Sean McDermott. Carolina's
Week 2, right? Yeah,
week 2. Is their former DC, Philly Brown, on the Buffalo Bills now. I want to see how the Buffalo Bills defensively handle Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers offense, but I want to see how Carolina's offense goes up against Sean McDermott's defense because he coached the defense in Carolina. So I want to see how they can go up against each other, and that's week 2, obviously.
And interesting, that same week 2, you got Dallas at Denver. I mean, in Mile High Stadium, that's a game to watch. I mean, because we're really going to see what is Von Miller made of against good offensive lines.
I mean, Von Miller against Tyron Smith, I don't think you should start your Broncos defense that week. Don't start him. Don't start him.
I don't even know if you want to start Dallas players. I mean,
No.
you've got... obviously you're going to, but realistically, that's interesting.
I think the person that's going to win that game, the game's going to be decided in the slot between Bradley Roby and Cole Beasley. Beasley in the slot. And if he can win the slot, because you got Aqib Talib, you got Chris Harris Jr., and Aqib Talib on Dez Bryant, there's going to be some altercations. I want to see how the refs call that.
Yeah.
I think Chris Harris Jr. is going to shut down Terrence Williams. Shut him down. But if Bradley Roby can shut down Beasley, and then I think that game is going to be a Broncos win. But looking at week 3, I see, Saints at Carolina. I would love to see that game a little bit later in the year. And then I see a game that I would love to see on a Thursday night game. Seattle at Tennessee.
Yeah, that's an interesting game because you've got, I almost want to say, two kind of equal quarterbacks, Russell Wilson and Marcus Mariota. Kind of same style. Similar kind of team built, not terrific receivers. Pretty good running backs. I mean, it's just solid. I mean, obviously Seattle has had a better defense in the past couple of years, but that's still quite a game to watch. I really want to watch that game.
It reminds me, it's like Seattle playing, like if Seattle could go back in the past and play their mirror version of themselves. Before
I would say so.
Before the Legion of Boom became the thing and shut down Peyton Manning. And then I like the sneaky good game, Denver at Buffalo. It's a sneaky good game. Trevor Siemian. Or is it going to be Paxton?
Well, yeah, I know. Do we know if it's Trevor Siemian?
Oh, and then I didn't even see this. Monday night, Dallas at Arizona. I'm not rolling with Arizona in that game. I can't believe that Bruce Arians is going to allow his guys to fall even more down.
And I mean, if looking at, I don't know if you've got any games you want to watch week 4, but week 5, I'm looking at it here, and New England at Tampa Bay. I find that game really interesting because Tampa Bay really came out and played well last year. And, I mean, New England, we all know, they're the powerhouse. Got Tom Brady, terrific time. It's just, it's great game. They're really pushing for, good Thursday night games because, as we know, players do not, and fans don't like Thursday night games.
Especially Richard Sherman.
Oh, for sure. Well, Richard Sherman makes his concerns clear. Is that true?
He does not need an anger translator at all. No, he does not. But I'm looking at this game. I don't want to be the guy that keeps harping on the Bills games, but Buffalo at Atlanta.
Why Bills? I mean, you just really like the Bills, don't you?
Tyrod Taylor, LaShawn McCoy, new head coach. There's some talent there.
Yeah, but I don't
Sammy Watkins coming back.
Yeah, he was back last year.
Coming back. He wasn't the same guy though. He's going to have an off-season here.
Yeah.
Carolina at New England. That game is going to be really good.
No, it's not. New England's going to crush.
It's going to be a good game.
No. New England, Carolina's awful.
They're not the same. They're not going to be the same team as last year.
They're going to be worse.
Carolina has these.
Unless they really make an impact in the draft.
They do these Cam has these classic roller coaster, good, bad years. And this one game I'm looking at the same week. You got the Denver Broncos. The division games are always good. But you got Indianapolis playing Seattle in Seattle. I think Seattle is going to come smoke Indianapolis, but I think Andrew Luck's going to have a sneaky good game.
But that's what Andrew Luck does. He's a sneaky good game, but then the rest of his team just lets him down, and they lose. They lose by a ton, which because the Colts have very little defense, very little offense except for Andrew Luck, and Frank Gore. I mean, he's good, but he's old. They don't have an offensive line really for him to run behind. But what I'm really excited for, Week 7, Chiefs at Oakland, Kansas City at Oakland. That's a good game Thursday night. Week 7, and I'm interested to see how the Raiders do this year because they lost Latavius Murray. Derek Carr's coming off a bad injury. I mean, that is not an easy injury. It's almost like Adrian Peterson. I mean, is he going to come back like Adrian Peterson?
We don't know.
We don't know, and that's something to look for. And I think really that Kansas City at Oakland game is going to be one of those big tests for Derek Carr because Kansas City's defense is great and locked down. That'll be a good game to watch.
I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, low-scoring affair.
It always is.
Always is. Tough game. Hope it's not raining like it was last year. Looking at the schedule, Week 7, you see Super Bowl 51 rematch in Foxborough, Atlanta taking on New England. I think Atlanta's going to get smacked. It's going to get smacked. I would have liked to see that game in Atlanta, in the new stadium. What better way to open up the new stadium?
That new stadium looks nice.
Sure does look nice. What better way to open up that stadium with roof problems than to close it, than to close that chapter, that horrifying scar, and just to close it in your new stadium?
That would be nice because, as we all know, the Falcons blew a 28-3 lead. But, I'm just here looking at the schedule again for some reason. And, I understand the London games are a big deal for people, but Minnesota and Cleveland in London, who's going to watch that except for Minnesota fans? It's a guaranteed win for Minnesota unless Cleveland makes an impact in the draft.
And there's no Terrell Pryor to carry the load and go off this year.
Yeah,
I'm looking at Seattle and New York, and I like that game. I like the Giants with Brandon Marshall, Odell Beckham Jr. going up against an increasingly depleting Seattle secondary. It's an East Coast team. I like that game. Dallas and San Francisco. Dallas playing San Francisco. What does San Francisco do to deserve that? That's going to be brutal.
I mean, I don't know what's going on with San Francisco. They just cannot. They need to get their act together. They really just.
Moving to the halfway point of the season, we got some games. I'm looking at this one. If they moved where the game was played, this would be a really good game. I'm looking at Houston at Seattle. If they flipped it,
Well, if they flipped it, then it'd be a much better game. But I don't care about Houston and Seattle.
There's no quarterback for Houston, so defensively, it's just going to be a non-starter game.
And I'm looking. I skipped down to week 16 because that's the important stretch, right?
Yep.
And I see a tough game because week 16 that week. Christmas is that week.
Yep.
And there's two games, Pittsburgh at Houston and Oakland at Philly.
Yep.
And I think those are going to be two just rough games.
I think Oakland at Philly, I like Carson Wentz to go off.
He did last year. I mean, Carson Wentz showed that he can play at a high level last year. Still, there were some picks, issues, but I mean, he's a rookie. And he's a gunslinger. And now he's got Alshon Jeffrey, and maybe they get a running back in the draft. Maybe. And
there's a guy from Texas, another like Jamal Charles was.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at week 9. I know you skip past it because you love your Christmas games. You unlike
oh
Cam,
yeah,
unlike
all
Cam
Thanksgiving's games.
I like Cam Hayward. I don't like Christmas games. I don't like them at all. I'm looking at week 9. You got Kansas City taking on Dallas in Jerry World.
Interesting.
And Kansas City's people speculate how they're going to take a quarterback. And two game-managing quarterbacks, yes, I said it, Dallas fans, game-managing quarterbacks, are going at each other in Jerry World, in the offensive capital of the world. And I like Kansas City in that game. I like Tom Bahali. I like the Chiefs' defense. And I think Des Bryant's going to get annoyed by the length of Kansas City's corners.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah. And I'm looking... I know you're still behind on the schedule, but I'm on week 17 here. And I'm looking at some of these divisional games. I mean, they're all divisional games.
Mm-hmm.
This is a insane week. I think there's some of these games here, such as Arizona at Seattle, Kansas City at Denver, Washington at New York, the Giants. Those games are really going to decide the division. And what is interesting is it's going to be at Seattle, which is not good for Arizona. In Denver for Kansas City's won in Denver before. They can do it. So I don't doubt that Kansas City can come out with that one. And Washington and New York Giants, that'll be a good game. I really want to see what kind of connection there is between Kirk Cousins and Terrell Pryor.
The first thing I want to point out is, you do realize the last time Kansas played in Denver, that game went into overtime, and it was Tyreek Hill and Carlos Santos versus the Denver Broncos.
Oh, for sure.
And Justin Houston. So I don't think Tyreek Hill, the streak, is going to come back and streak Kansas City into the win column for that one. But I'm looking at this game in Mexico. You got the Raiders, Mexico's team, Vegas' team, now formerly Oakland's team, practically.
It's like they're one team in three places.
Yep. Taking on New England, and New England is only going to have like one home game in like a month, if you look at it. And it's going to be at Miami, which is just checking them in the win column, just checking in. Even Adam Gase knows it's a W for the Pats. And I like that game because it's the clash of popularity in Mexico.
I could.
And altitude, Khalil Mack, it's also going to be a good game to see if Mack is really the Mack attack, if he shows up on a big spotlight. But also, I always love these Thursday night games. Thursday night games that no one talks about. Particularly this one. Tennessee, exotic smash mouth, going up against a pretty awkwardly bad defense in Pittsburgh.
That is an awkward defense, I will say that.
Especially when your best player is going on 40.
I know.
It's going on 40.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Rolling all the way down to the final week.
Which I already talked about some of the divisional games.
Divisional games that you haven't harped on. The Jets always play the Patriots tough. But it's not.
I feel bad. I almost feel bad for the
But
Jets.
it's not even. They don't even get to close this season at MetLife Stadium. It's in Gillette Stadium, which makes it especially tough because New England's about as good as Seattle in the closing stretches of the weeks.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And this one, San Francisco at LA. That's gonna be a really close game.
Which LA?
Rams.
Okay, yeah.
This is a divisional game.
Yep.
New Orleans at Tampa. They're not closing in the Superdome this year. They're closing at Raymond James. That's interesting. Chicago closing not in Minnesota, not the other way around this year. That's interesting.
Yeah. But I just looking at the games, this schedule is definitely different in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really excited to see what comes out because there are some tough matchups, and I am really excited to see what happens.
I'm glad that there's so many different matchups on primetime games. It's not like you have to give every team equal chance on primetime games, that they actually show what people want to see on primetime games, and we don't have to watch the Browns get smacked by the Baltimore Ravens in a really boring primetime game. That there's actually teams that people want to see getting national coverage.
Yeah, it's good to see, the NFL actually listening to some things, and I'm really excited for the 2017 season and what's in store. So, yeah, I'm really excited.
Looking at the last matchup, it comes in at Week 14, Seattle at Jacksonville.
Why is that an important game? Jacksonville, I feel like they're like, oh, we're gonna be so good, and then they just boom.
They have these notorious I'm gonna be really good, and then they're not good games. And this one strikes me because Seattle, if they're good in that season, they're really good. Right about where they start to get good is right around Week 13. So this is gonna be Week 14. So this is gonna be a good test for Seattle. And Seattle always does poorly on these underrated games. And I'm looking at this game, it's because Jacksonville has a pretty good defensive line. Seattle's not a great O-line. Jacksonville's going to have early draft picks to get some receivers. Blake Bortles is going to come back this year. I'm not saying he's going to be the Derek Carr out of nowhere guy, but I think he could be mediocre. And I'm looking at it because Jacksonville, I feel like, is going to be a really good matchup for Seattle. And I don't think Seattle's going to look at it as this, well, we have to really worry about anybody. So I think that's going to be a good game. Other than that, Tennessee and Arizona looks interesting. I don't see any other matchups that scream, ooh, I like that game. I like that bet.
Yeah, and I'm just really excited for 2017. I mean, it'll be a fun year. I can't wait to see what's in store and whether, Marshawn Lynch goes to the Raiders or not.
Right.
Because that'll affect things. And I'm really excited for the draft as well.
Hopefully we actually have a Hall of Fame game and not like some paint gets decided.
Yeah, and it's not, whatever. So yeah, we'll be talking about some other topics soon, including our predictions for the NFL 2017, 2018 year, and just the NFL in general. So we're going to talk about how we think the divisions are going to shape up in this year in 2017, 2018 in the NFL. And what better way to start than starting with the NFC East? I mean, this was quite a turnaround. 2 years ago, this division was awful. I mean,
the NFC East.
Exactly. And, last year, that completely turned around. I mean, Philadelphia was the worst team, and they were 7-9. That's pretty good.
I feel like their schedule, their 7-9 doesn't say how good they were. I think they were better than what their schedule says they were.
I would definitely say so.
I don't think they were the worst team in the division last year. I think that honor goes to the Washington Redskins.
And so, based on last year, who and draft, well, we will do the same thing after the draft as well. But up to this point, what are your standings on the division, and who has what record?
I like Dallas at 8-8.
Okay.
I like Washington below there because they are allergic to prosperity.
They are. I would completely agree. So, do you think 7-9, 6-10? I mean,
6-10. I like
6-10.
I like with 6-10.
I'm thinking that this Terrell Pryor thing isn't gonna really click this year.
No.
I think they got to wait another year. Maybe get some other factors getting in there too. But so we got Dallas at 8-8, Washington at 6-10. What about Philadelphia and New York?
I like Philadelphia at 12-4.
Really? Is that mostly just because of the addition of Alshon Jeffrey?
I like Carson Wentz as the best quarterback in the NFC East.
Wow, bold move.
I don't believe Eli Manning is this great methodical quarterback that everyone makes.
Oh, I would agree. Eli Manning is not the greatest quarterback.
The best thing about Eli Manning is he's related to Peyton Manning.
That's probably, and he's won 2 rings.
Yeah, what would happen on those 2 rings? He had ridiculous defenses that Trevor Siemian could have won those 2 Super Bowls.
That's true.
He had the hilarious Hail Mary to David Tyree and
helmet catch,
and then the Mario Manningham. How did I not step out of bounds in Lucas Oil Stadium? And I don't believe he's this great quarterback. I think he's pretty average. I think he's Jay Cutler with a different haircut.
So, what do you think those records are for New York and Philadelphia?
I like Philadelphia 12-4. I don't think New York's gonna be 4-12 because I think the defense is doing better than that. But I like New York at 7-9, but they're gonna knock off Dallas once.
Interesting. So, in the division, you've got Philadelphia winning. You got Dallas at 8-8. Do they get a wild card, or we wait and see until we get the others?
I don't think there's any wild cards coming out of the NFC East because I think the NFC is gonna be better. Honestly,
loaded. Okay.
I think this is going to jump ahead a little bit, but I think the wild card is going to the Atlanta Falcons in the NFC South.
Okay, so we've got Philadelphia 12-4, Dallas 8-8, and then we got New York, the Giants at 7-9, and then the Redskins at 6-10.
Yep.
As we move down to the NFC North, where Green Bay Packers were 10-6 last year, made the playoffs, and Detroit Lions also made the playoffs with a 9-7 record. How do you think that's going to shake up?
Same order of teams.
So you're thinking Packers, Lions, Vikings, Bears.
Why would the Bears start winning now?
That's true.
Who's their quarterback? I don't care who their quarterback is. They're not going to start winning the trash. It's a disrespectful to the city. It's a great city of Chicago. They're just horrendous.
So I'm thinking Packers go, I want to say 11-5.
Yeah, I like 11-5. Minnesota always plays them tough, especially in that building.
Yes.
That crowd gets into a frenzy. They got some tough games in their
And
schedule.
11-5 is being generous. They were 10-6 last year. So
And Aaron Rodgers for that beginning stretch was awful.
I know. So if he gets out to a good start, 11-6 total. 11-5 is totally possible. 10-6, completely reasonable for Green Bay.
And that's without a running game. Now, Ty Montgomery's the designated running back. They have a chance to get a running back early in this draft. And I think they're going to add someone at running back, whether that's Christian McCaffrey or whoever they add. I think they could be extremely expected. I like Detroit right on their heels.
So you're saying 1 game down?
I say 2 games down.
2 games. So then again, they go 9-7 for the second year.
9-7, second year. I like them at home. I like Detroit a lot at home, winning all their home games, plus 1 on the road.
Interesting. And so then Minnesota Vikings, they went 8-8 this year, or last year, 2016. I'm thinking at best they're gonna do again is 8-8.
I'm saying 7-9. 7-9.
7-9, and then
the running game's gonna go downhill. I don't believe
in a bad way.
Bad way. It's not like Adrian Peterson breaking through. It's going downhill bad way. Defensively, I don't think they can just hold teams down to 13 points. I think they're gonna get exposed in the second half because they're gonna keep games close, and then offenses are gonna get creative. Chicago, I don't care who you have playing defense. Leonard Floyd was a beast at Georgia, but this man can't play 11 different positions.
That's true. And then so we've got Green Bay 11-5, Detroit 9-7, Minnesota 7-9, and Chicago at
4-12.
4-12.
I'll be honest with you. John Fox said they're going to start winning games. John Fox is a great head coach, but the years that he's won, when he took Carolina to the Super Bowl, when he took Denver to the Super Bowl, he had good quarterbacks in Delhomme and Manning, and good defenses, and he doesn't have either in Chicago.
Yeah, I agree. So now we move to the NFC South with the choking Atlanta Falcons. I'm thinking, they went 11-5. I'd say they can do that again. They added Don Terry Poe, so I think that's a good chance for them. And 11-5, great record. Tampa Bay, however, I think they pass Atlanta up.
I honestly think Tampa Bay. You're absolutely right. Tampa Bay is gonna pass them up in both games. They're gonna sweep the series. Jameis Winston is gonna be the quarterback sensation because the NFC South always had this sensation. It was Cam Newton. This year was Matty Ice, and this year it's gonna be famous Jameis because you got Djax coming in, Mike Evans, the stud from Texas A&M. They're gonna get that running back position fixed. That defense and Dirk Cutter They're gonna show how interesting that team is and how much personality they have, and Gerald McCoy, and they're gonna show it through Hard Knock. Everyone's gonna fall in love with Tampa Bay. People are gonna forget John Gruden was ever there.
So 12-4 or 13-3.
I'm saying they're going 11-5 because.
Ooh. So they're gonna tie with Atlanta.
No, Atlanta's going 10-6.
Wow.
And
interesting.
They're gonna be the wild card team at 10-6.
Okay, I can see that. And then New Orleans and Carolina.
The 8-8 squads.
8-8.
8-8 ball clubs. 8-8 ball clubs. It's gonna be a tight division. You're gonna see some very passionate football games, but let's be honest. 8-8 is generous for more than generous for the Carolina Panthers. 7-9. What can I say? Drew Brees is the best quarterback in that division, but it doesn't matter. He has no help.
Which is too bad for him.
It's too bad.
It really is.
You put him with some talent, and he does. He goes to Super Bowl. The man's gonna throw 5,000 yards. Start him for fantasy. He's gonna go off. And he's the best quarterback in that division, but it doesn't matter. They have no one defensively to help him. They couldn't get Malcolm Butler. They couldn't secure anything in free agency. So there's nothing for the Saints to do other than try to make it 8-8, which is better than they did this year.
Yeah, and that's interesting. And now as we move to the NFC West, I really only think that Seattle's the only chance with playoff hopes. I really don't think anyone else has a chance. I think Seattle at best goes 11-5, 11-5, and Arizona 8-8 sounds good. LA Rams 4-12, 5-11, and 49ers. I wouldn't be surprised if they go 0-16. I really wouldn't be surprised.
49ers are a mess right now, absolute mess. But I don't think the Rams are going to be as bad as people think they are. I think Jared Goff is going to play better than he was this year. I think the Rams' defense is going to be more disciplined and they're going to play better off. I like them at the Rams at 8-8. Like the Rams at 8-8. I don't believe in the Cardinals this year. I'm going to shock the world. I'm saying the Cardinals are going 5-11.
I don't think that's a shock at all.
I think Palmer.
It's respectfully outrageous,
I don't think Carson Palmer is this great quarterback. I thought he was pretty trash all the way back to his Bengals career. He was absolutely horrendous in Oakland, and he comes in with a great Hall of Fame receiver, and Larry Fitzgerald, and a great head coach, and Bruce Arians, who knows how to make people look real good. And we've all been living under this Carson Palmer Hall of Fame mirage.
I know,
and it's coming to an end. David Johnson's not this great mythical running back. Todd Gurley's going to look better. They're going to play 8-8, and I think when Seattle comes in to the Rams Stadium, they've always played them tough. And this year, the Seattle's going to beat the Rams in their home place, but the Rams are going to beat the Seahawks at their place.
Interesting. So you've got Seattle pretty much taking the division.
Yep.
Which I am not surprised at all. As we move to the AFC, we are going to start with the AFC East with the New England Patriots.
Can we just say this? Patriots win it, move on?
Yeah, I can totally agree. The Dolphins are going to be better, but probably same roughly as Buffalo Bills, New York Jets. I have no idea.
Buffalo Bills, Buffalo Bills, Miami.
You've said a lot about the Buffalo Bills.
Okay,
I think you just like the Buffalo Bills.
Okay, how can you not like LaShawn McCoy, Sean McDermott, and Tyrod Taylor?
Because they've never worked together, both like in this situation. Until I see it happen, cool. Good luck. But
that's a lot of talent right there. I think they've had a lot of talent in Buffalo for some years now. It's just been caged up by Rex Ryan, and they're going to go off. I don't think they're going to beat the Patriots in the division, but I can do definitely see two playoff spots going to that division, the AFC East. Whether it's New England and Buffalo or New England and Miami, because we already know New England's in the playoffs.
Right. And that's just what happens. And then we look at the AFC North with Cleveland, I don't even know what to say. They're just at the bottom. Pittsburgh and Baltimore and Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati. I don't think everyone's like, oh, Andy Dalton, AJ Green, but no, I really think they're at best a 7-9 team at best.
I'm gonna shock the world here again. Pittsburgh's gonna run away with the division. That's not the shocker. Cleveland's not gonna be the bottom team in the division.
Really? Are you saying Cincy? Or are you saying Baltimore?
I'm saying it's gonna be Cincinnati at 5-11.
At the bottom of the division.
At 5.
Cleveland's gonna have more than 5 wins.
Absolutely.
How many are they gonna have? 7? Are they gonna go 7-9?
I can say going 7-9. Yeah.
7-9. Wow. And what is Baltimore gonna go at?
They are just gonna do better and go 8-8. I don't like anything Baltimore has defensively. Honestly, I think it's a mess. I think they have Ron Harbaugh coaching.
Yeah, well, that is true.
I don't know what they can do to make it better because they have an aging quarterback. I don't know if they reload, relax. I don't know any Aaron Rodgers catchphrases that would work here. I don't know what you add because
run the table.
You're not gonna run the table. Relax, reload, rejuice, rejuvenate. I don't know what to do if you're Baltimore. Cincinnati, you can't throw Hail Marys to AJ Green to beat the Browns every game. You can't do it.
And what about the Steelers?
You have
13-3. Is that too generous, or are you looking more at an 11-5 here?
9-7.
I thought you said they were going to run away with the division.
That is running away with the division. They're going to win more games, but the games they're not going to win more games, but the schedule is going to be.
So you're saying they're going to beat their division mates, but have trouble outside of the division?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I got you.
What happened in Carolina in 2014? They beat everyone in the division, but they couldn't beat one of the games outside the division. I think Ben Roethlisberger's the best quarterback in the division. The defense is absolutely the worst, which is saying
a lot.
It's bad. Baltimore's isn't good. Cincy's isn't good.
That division has become the NFC East last year.
It's
2 years ago.
It's just a mess. I don't know.
Not as big of a mess as the Houston Texans and the AFC South, though. I mean, how did they make the playoffs? I mean, yeah, you have DeAndre Hopkins and Lamar Miller, but they don't have a quarterback. Their quarterback's Tom Savage now, unless they
had a quarterback last year. It was the 6'8" octopus. It was a 6'8" octopus.
Oh, was that the guy that they used their bank account on, and he didn't really play?
You mean the robber of Houston?
You're talking about Brock Osweiler.
Yeah, Brock Osweiler.
Anyway, they're at the bottom. I think they're actually below Jacksonville.
That is outrageous. You're gonna talk to me. You're gonna come here and talk to me about how Houston is gonna be below Jacksonville with the best defense in the division, maybe the best defense in the AFC. It's gonna be the worst division. That is outrageous. First off,
no, because Houston doesn't. If they don't have a quarterback, there's no way they can go anywhere.
Denver did it. Denver proves you don't need a quarterback to win this league. Denver proves it.
That is true, but Houston does not have the same weapons and same build as, and I mean the Houston Texans lost AJ Boye.
What do you mean same build? Let me think about this. Great pass rusher, Von Miller, Jadeveon Clowney. Except, does Denver have a J.J. Watt? I don't think so. J.J. Watt's coming back.
Yeah, but has J.J. Watt been on the field?
Doesn't matter. They still got to the playoffs without J.J. Watt.
No, I still think Houston's at the bottom.
Just disgusting. I don't believe this. I can't believe this. Jacksonville, I don't know. You really expect Blake, I'm going to throw the football off your foot, Bortles, to get you past Houston?
Blake Bortles is going to come to his senses a little more after last season and maybe run the ball a little better this time because...
With who?
T.J. Yeldon. I mean,
Really?
T.J. Yeldon's good. And they have Chris
at
Allen.
Alabama. He was good at Alabama.
Yeah.
And they were ran into elite competition.
I at this point, I'm saying Houston is the bottom. But if Jaguars do not draft well, I can definitely say that Houston will not be at the bottom.
Well, as I can say is definitely for sure Tennessee's winning that division.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
I can definitely agree.
Absolutely.
Actually, Indy will be toward the bottom of the pack. I don't like Indy. I mean, I'm a fan of Indianapolis. I've always been a fan of the Colts brand, but their team just has too many issues in the offices, the higher levels. Andrew Luck, yeah, he's a great player, but he cannot do everything for the team. He's getting sacked left, right, up the middle, from behind. It's just awful.
Just bad.
And they have no defense. There is no organization to that team. at all. I feel so bad for Andrew Luck. He would have done much better in Seattle or in Washington.
Wow, anyone could do really well in Seattle with great defense and Doug Baldwin. I mean, come on.
Look at Russell Wilson. Anyway, I definitely agree. Tennessee, 12-4.
I like Tennessee at 13-3.
Really?
Marcus Mariota.
12-4.
Marcus Mariota is going to have a career year, and the only reason he's not going to win the MVP is because Derek Carr is. I'm not going to get too much into the Raiders, but I think Tennessee is going to run over people. DeMarcus Murray is going to lead the league in rushing. Derrick Henry is going to be this monster, and they're going to be chased, and they're going to be chased out of the division. They're going to take off running to the playoffs, and there's going to be 2 games that everyone starts holding their breath for, and those are the 2 games against Houston, because Houston's defense is ridiculous. But other than that, the order's going to look like this: Tennessee at 13-3, Texans at 9-7. Call me crazy. I like that defense. I like it a lot. I like defense a lot at home. And then I'm going to take Jacksonville over Indy. Yes.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
I like that defense a little bit more than Indianapolis.
That's respectful.
And I'm not that much of an Andrew Luck fan. I don't think he's proved it to me.
I think he's a great quarterback.
What's he done that's so great? If he retired right now, what would people remember him for 5 years right now?
Injuries. He's had a lot of injuries.
That's not great.
He had a pretty good rookie season, but how can you expect to stay in the field when you get sacked almost 10 times a game?
You can't expect to win games. You can't.
No, and that's the issue with Indy. As we go to the AFC West, we're looking at the Chiefs here, the Oakland Raiders, who will become the Las Vegas Raiders.
Oakland Raiders, we're sticking with it. Las Vegas Raiders is disgusting. It's disgusting.
Denver Broncos and San Diego Chargers. The Las Vegas Raiders is for another topic and another day. And I'm looking at this. Denver, I'm going to expect to slide even more.
Absolutely.
From last year.
Absolutely.
Oakland, I expect to climb even farther. Kansas City, I expect to sit right around 11-5. They have a good coaching staff. Alex Smith is getting up there in age. Good defense. Tyreek Hill's great. But Oakland's, I think they're going to go 14-2.
Exactly what I was going to say, 14-2 for Oakland.
Oakland, if they get Marshawn Lynch, I think they could go 15-1.
I don't like them 15-1. Because
they do have a rough schedule. They face some tough defenses.
The reason I like them at 14-2 is because they played the Kansas City Chiefs twice, and those are the only games they're going to lose. Because Andy Reid has their number.
That's true.
Derek Carr is amazing. We already know this. Crabtree and Amari Cooper is the best receiving tandem in the league. Their defense is going to be absolutely better. It was baffling how they had so much talent defensively, but they couldn't do anything.
I know, and I think for the Oakland Raiders, the key to the draft is definitely some secondary players.
They made a great pick last year taking Carl Joseph from West Virginia,
and
who's
they signing and getting Bruce Irvin. That was a nice move too. Getting some veteran player in there, and Khalil Mack is a beast. He's good.
I'll tell you what. If the Raiders take Reuben Foster, the linebacker from Alabama, the bad man that he is, the man that made Deshaun Watson look like a little boy in that game against the national championship game against Alabama. If he goes to the Raiders, I would fear for Phillip Rivers' life in that game, because he's not saying he's dirty. I'm not going to make that allegation, but he makes some great hits. Does a great job keeping his head out of the target area. Great job with that. But I think the Raiders, if they take him, I don't know if he's going to fall that low. These character issues, but I don't think he's a bad person at all. I've listened to what Nick Saban had to say about him. I think he's going to be fine. But I think Oakland is going to run away with the division at 14-2. Now, this is where it really gets interesting. Kansas City at 9-7.
Really? You think they're gonna slide?
I think they're gonna slide, and it's gonna be weird because their defense is gonna get worse, but their offense is gonna get better.
Interesting. I almost think it would be the other way around.
Because I think Tyreek Hill, D'Anthony Thomas, Jeremy Maclin are gonna get this chemistry. I think they're gonna take a running back.
Well, and now Jamal Charles is gone, so Spencer Ware and Charkantic West know that they're starting.
They're not gonna actually start. They're gonna take a running back. Kansas City's gonna take a running back.
Really?
I don't know who they're gonna take, but I think they're gonna take a running back.
And that's interesting. It'll be interesting to see.
I think Kansas City's going to be an offensive team, an offensive dominating team. People are going to think their defense is really good, but it's going to like the Raiders last year. People think, oh yeah, their defense is really good. What is actually their offense is winning these games? And then I think they're going to go 9-7, and then who's going to tie for 9-7, but they're not going to make the playoffs because of a tiebreaker, is the LA Chargers.
Wow, interesting. They need to take a receiver though.
I think Phillip Rivers is going to have a career year. He's been really good for some time. I think he's going to have one of those peak years of his career where he's...
Right, yeah, I got you. One of those up years.
He's not going to Peyton Manning 2013 year. He's going to be good after it, but he will never be the same guy after this year.
Okay, so you're saying this is the year for the Chargers.
This is the year for the Chargers, make or break. You either do it or you don't do it.
So do you think they should draft a quarterback now or wait till next year?
I don't like any of the quarterbacks back him up. I don't think they should take Mahomes because I don't think he would fit there, and I think if Davis Webb isn't the right fit, I don't think Deshaun Watson's the fit. I mean, if Kaiser's there, mid-second round, mid-third round, if Kaiser's there, there's absolutely no way Kaiser's going to be in the third round. But if you can get Kaiser in the second round, absolutely pull the trigger on Kaiser. Absolutely. But...
Don't reach for him.
Don't reach.
So Denver Broncos, do you
6-10.
6-10.
I don't...
Because they don't have a quarterback?
I don't like...
Trevor Siemian.
I don't like Trevor Siemian.
I don't mind Paxton Lynch, but it doesn't look like they're playing him.
I don't like the running game for the Denver Broncos. I don't like C.J. Anderson personally. No personal defense in at all. But I don't like...
Yeah, they've never really had a solid run game.
No.
Consistent.
No, not like far back as I can remember. I don't think they have had a great one.
Their best... Terrell Davis, but no Sean Moreno was never really that good.
Ball fizzled out real fast.
Oh my gosh, yes,
real fast. And I don't like... Ever since Danny Trevathan left for Chicago...
Yeah, it's just kind of been...
And what people forget is Malik Jackson, the guy that recovered the fumble against Carolina in the Super Bowl, he went to Jacksonville. People forget about that. Their defense has not looked the same. And they've been exposed when quarterbacks have had time to sit back and fire over them. I think Denver is going to be at 6-10. They're going to be a tough team at their place in Mile High, but on the road, I think with a bad crowd, I don't care how well your defense plays if your quarterback's throwing turnovers.
That's true. So, we've gone through the entire league, and those are our division predictions. To recap, we have Patriots winning the AFC East. We have the Steelers winning the AFC North.
Mm-hmm.
We got the Titans winning the AFC South.
Yep.
Oakland Raiders winning the AFC West.
Mm-hmm.
We've got, did we say Dallas? Or no.
I said Philly.
You said Philly. I said Dallas. But, so we've got Philly and Dallas on the NFC East with a close race. NFC North, Green Bay. NFC South, Tampa Bay. And then the NFC West, Seattle. So really the only division that really hasn't seemed to shape up for us yet is the NFC East. That'll be interesting to see how the draft plays out for both teams.
I think Pennsylvania is going to get it done for the Eagles, and Dak Prescott's going to be looking for answers.
Yeah, and it'll be an interesting season. I want to thank you for listening to our podcast. It was an interesting experience, to say the least.
I would say it was wonderfully outrageous.
It was respectively outrageous. Thank you for listening.